Would you like to know how I painted 100 tulips and what was the motivation behind it? Let me explain. I chose the tulip because tulips are very fleeting and they only live for a very short time in the spring. When I saw these tulips, they really caught my attention because the light was just casting this brilliance on the petals. And in different angles you can see the light and shadow on these really beautiful tulips. So I started the process where I took hundreds of tulips. And then I downloaded them on my computer and I printed some out. And I said to myself, wow, I could paint 100 of these. As a matter of fact, this is one of them, which I'm going to show you my step-by-step process. 100 of these 6x6" squares, watercolors on Aquaboard, using more of a pointillism method to it. And is printing the photographs, getting all your photos together. So I have this one photo that I printed out, and I'm going to do a drawing of it on tracing paper, just regular tracing paper. And what I did was I drew my squares, my 6" squares. And I usually do 4 of them on a page. And then I have my photograph, and then I did my drawing from the photo. Okay? So I did this ahead of time so you can see what I did. And if you mess up, this is the beauty of tracing paper. Tracing paper you can erase. This is a kneaded eraser. It works really good. You know, if you mess up, it's okay. You know, this is tracing paper. You can, you know, crinkle it up, throw it away. It's a very forgiving medium. You know, you don't like how that tulip goes, you can just sort of redraw it over. After you get your drawing finalized, kind of how you want it, the next step, step 2, is you transfer it onto the square. And these squares come in 4 to a pack, Aquaboard squares, 4 to a pack. And then what you do is that you put your square right underneath the tracing paper like that. And then you get some tape. And you take the back of it. Tape it there, and just tape it there. And then you get a piece of transfer paper, and you put it underneath, dark side down, and you kind of put it underneath there, underneath the square. Use a number 2H pencil. H means hard. So now you can go over it like that. Basically trace over it, and you'll get the image. Kind of check it because you want to make sure your image transferred. The next step is the underpainting, where I've kind of started this a little bit. The underpainting is actually getting the lights of the tulip. So now I'm working on the yellows. So just basically getting all the lighter colors in. And that's what I call more of an underpainting. Now I'm starting to make the darks of the flower even darker. More of a mid-value dark, like this red here. I'm making it even darker. So now you have lights, then now you have your mid-values. I look at my photo once in a while and I notice that my tulip is all red. So I'm at this point where I don't look at my photo anymore, and now I'm going to start to kind of make up some of the colors where when I saw the tulip I knew it had some oranges in it. It had some magentas. And it had some kind of a golden color. Some yellows. And then you just sort of put like the yellow on top of the red, which makes it more of like a kind of a bright orange color. After the mid values, now I'm gonna, this is the step where I kind of use more of a pointillism technique on top of the mid values and the light values, is where I start to put my pointillism dots. Now I already have a layer of yellow dots there, but I wanted it a little bit brighter. So when it dries, I go back and I hit it with some more dots. And you can do dots on different colors. And it kind of gives it a nice color effect to that. And I also look at contrasts where I know this part of the petal is dark and this part of the petal is light. So where it's light, you want the contrast of the darks to pop out the light. Here we're at our last step. We're almost done. And I'm just going back and putting more colors of green more on the foreground here to make it a little bit darker so my tulip pops up. And here's the base of the petal, which is always darker. So I have more of this kind of purple red color to make the bottom of the stems pop up just a little bit. So I think it's pretty much done. So this is what one tulip painting looks like. Now we just have 99 more to go. We are here at my dining room table, and I used the dining room table to spray fixative and varnish the squares. So these are the 100 squares. I laid them out. I actually kind of taped them on a board. So you can see they're all pieces that I taped together on the board. And then after I tape them on the board, I spray it with a UV resistant clear, 2 coats of it. I let that dry for a few hours. And then after that dries, I use the polymer varnish with UV Escalas and then coat that, 2 coats of that also. Then I lay out all my squares. There's a methodical method to it where I wanted the 100 squares to actually give an image of a fleeting tulip. I wanted it to create out of the 100 squares this tulip kind of growing out of the ground. So how I approached that was I had all these tulips shot digitally, and then I made an image of all of these tulips, small little squares, and I cut them up and then basically assembled them like a puzzle. So here's the image that I used. So this would be my final piece, and what I did was I printed all my squares out, I numbered them, and I taped them on a board, kind of like this, and then I sort of played around and then basically matched different colors to where I wanted the squares. So there's 10 going across and 10 going down, which equals, the originals would be 60 by 60 inches. My goal for these paintings is that watercolors will earn the same respect as oils and acrylics. That someday this piece will have a place in a museum, a corporate building, or possibly even in a hospital. So my work can bring joy to those all around us. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more of my paintings, you may visit my website, LewLooseWatercolors.com. Thanks.